If you're trying to learn something new, you want to gain some new expertise or new knowledge in a particular area, you want to develop a skill set. Maybe you have this dream of eventually becoming kind of a leader or an expert in that area. You can contribute to your organization, to your community. You could serve maybe even as a consultant or something else like that. You're interested in a career path, I suppose, but you really just want to learn and grow. And for some good, meaningful, noble purpose, you want to be better at something. You want to develop a new skill, new knowledge, new expertise. When I'm trying to do that, I actually just do four things 5 times. So the first thing that I do is I try to find some of the key writings or works in that field that everyone else is talking about. They've been citing. I do geek out sometimes. I'll look at what used to be called citation abstracts. You can now do that through Google Scholar and places online, where you can find out what are the sources that everybody else seems to be citing on a given topic. And so I will try to find, for me, it's usually 5 books. And I'll find the top 5 books in that area, maybe the top 1 or 2 to get started. And I'll slowly work my way through reading those 5 books. And that's the first thing that I do. The second thing that I do is in the process of reading these books, I also allow myself to be curious about it. I will look up videos on YouTube, I'll look up articles, I'll browse, I'll talk to other people, other things like that. I treat it kind of like I'm joining a bit of a club, or I'm getting involved in a culture, and I try to identify who are the 5 really compelling thought leaders or experts in that area. Who are the people that others look up to and say, if you want to know how to do this well, look at them. And I try to find those 5 people. And then I learn about them. I learn about their life story. I learn about their journey. I begin to read some of the things that they wrote. I look for interviews that have been conducted of them. It's just another way for me to add an extra layer of knowledge, but I do it in the form of kind of crafting these personalized biographies of these 5 people. So I read the 5 books, I find 5 people, and then the third thing that I do is I try to do 5 interviews. I try to reach out, sometimes to those same 5 people that I listed before. But I will reach out to people who are far ahead of me in that area. They have a lot more knowledge and expertise, and I don't shy away from asking who are the best in the world at this and reaching out and seeing if they'll have a conversation with me, because it's incredibly amazing how generous people are with their time. People who have reached a high level of expertise in an area. Now, I'm not saying that you can reach out to the President of the United States and expect that he's going to reply or answer necessarily, and there are limitations to this. But in my experience, when I reach out to someone who's a leader or an expert, they can be at one of the top universities in the world, or head of a think tank or research group, or the really successful leader in business or in the church or in some other area, I found that they're generally really willing to have some conversations. And I do a kind of informal conversation. It's not like a formal interview where I'm taking detailed notes, but I do take notes, especially afterward. I write as much down as I can to remember what we discussed and things that I want to follow up on. So I do the 5 books. I find 5 names of people, and I sort of study them and craft my own little biographies of these leaders and what they did and how they got to where they are. And then I interview 5 people. And then the fourth thing that I do is I conduct 5 experiments. And experiment for me, don't think of it like a scientific experiment. I mean, I try to take my knowledge and I put it into action. I try to do something with it. So, for example, if I wanted to learn how to become, if I wanted to learn more about documentary filmmaking, one of my experiments would be to create a 10-minute documentary or something of that sort, and allow myself to do as poor quality job as I want, but just to try to apply some of the ideas that I've been learning from the books and from the people, from the interviews, and I would do this little experiment and I would share it with others. A recent example that I'll give is music has always been an important part of my life. It's not a part of my formal work, and I'm not an incredible musician. I'm sort of self-taught. I did have some formal lessons when I was younger, but guitar is a important instrument in my life. I play it pretty much every single day of my life, even if I'm not that great at it. And and I wanted to get involved in the music creation side of things, even though I'm not a great songwriter. And so I started the experiment of writing songs. And I just started creating songs and writing them. And I joined a couple of groups online where I could share my song and get feedback. And I got really harsh feedback from people telling me about how bad my how bad my song was, and I should pretty much throw it out, or maybe I should reconsider this songwriting thing. Of course, I'm not doing it to become a world-class or world-renowned songwriter necessarily, but I want to grow in my craft, and for however many years God allows me to stick around on this planet, I can get a little bit better over time. And yet, notice that I didn't just read about songwriting. I did. I got some books about songwriting. I actually have them sitting right over here to the side of me. I got some names of people who were the best songwriters out there, and I began to study them and learn about them. Became really intrigued with certain songwriters, especially in country, Americana, folk genre for me. Then I reached out and I interviewed some other people who are songwriters and have written some songs. And then I started the experiment of writing some songs. And I try to conduct 5 or 10 or more experiments over time. Depends on how long my interest continues in that particular area. But this is a really simple kind of personal curriculum. 5 books, 5 people, 5 interviews, and 5 sort of practice experiments that you do over time. And if you do that, you are going to develop a level of insight about that particular topic or area that probably exceeds 80 or 90% of the planet, or maybe even more. And it's a great starting point. Of course, if you want to develop greater proficiency and expertise, you can go beyond that, and you can get other mentors and guides and other things like that. But I would say that if you want to learn something new, whether it's a particular leadership skill that can be useful, if it's some body of knowledge or some area, this is not a bad way to approach lifelong self-directed learning. So take it for what it is. I'd love to hear from you if you try some of this out and it's helpful.